Namaste. Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit today about this Putin thing that's going on, and then also about Trump and all of his lawsuits that he has in place. So, Putin is really wanting Trump in because he really thinks all he has to do is flatter Trump. And Trump is such a fool that Putin can control him. Unlike Hillary Clinton, which, she's called for reform and for them to start treating the citizens better, etc. Anyway, so Putin has said that he issued a chilling threat to the U.S. as tensions continue to rise over the Syria conflict, sparking World War III fears. He was speaking to the journalists about the conflict between the countries. And he said, if somebody out there wants confrontation, this is not our choice, but this means there will be problems. So he's issuing his threat and his warning. His threat came as U.S. authorities continue to condemn Putin and his army for carrying out the airstrikes against war-torn Syria, where thousands of people have been killed. Okay, in a clip that Putin is talking against basically Hillary Clinton, and because she was condemning the Russian airstrikes, okay, and saying it's an attempt to distract the voters from their country's problems by creating an enemy and uniting the country against them. He was referencing both Iran and Russia as the potential enemies. And when asked about the country's impending election on November 9th, his answer said a lot about ongoing World War III fears. Okay. He responded and said, Mrs. Clinton has chosen to take up a very aggressive stance against our country, against Russia. Mr. Trump, on the other hand, calls for cooperation, at least when it comes to the international fight against terrorism. We welcome those who would like to cooperate with us and consider it wrong that we always have to be in conflict with one another, always creating an existential threat for each other and the rest of the world, as well as fail in delivering results in the international fight against terrorism. How will things be after the U.S. elections? We don't know. Would Mr. Trump deliver on his views of cooperating with Russia? Or would Mrs. Clinton deliver on the threats and harsh rhetoric against Russia if she became president? Or will she correct her position against us? We don't know. He then issued what sounds like a horrifying ultimatum to U.S. politicians, saying, jeopardizing Russian-American relationships in order to gain brownie points internally, I consider this to be harmful and counterproductive. It's not funny anymore. If somebody wants confrontation, this is not our choice, but this means there will be problems. Okay. This relationship between Russia and America has been fraught since Putin's country continues airstrikes against Syria and its capital of Aleppo. He is also claiming that that he created 4 safe passages out of the city for civilians and 2 for fighters. He's blaming ISIS terrorists for stopping civilians and leaving and holding them as human shields. He claims that they're supplying stricken Aleppo with humanitarian aid from Armenia and Serbia to help the 275,000 residents trapped there. But he says that the jihadists are taking it before it gets through. Okay, he also said they presented the Americans with a proposal to secure the road into Aleppo so other convoys can get through, but America turned it down. And so now, since there is tension between Russia and England through the UK, they've got this flotilla of Russian ships going down the English Channel. Okay, so again, Putin is doing all he can to influence our democratic election and get Trump in office, because he knows that Hillary cannot be pushed around so easily. She cannot be calmed so easily as Trump can. So that's what we have going with Putin. Okay. Since Hillary has been Secretary of State, she knows quite well who and what Putin is. He was the head of KGB. He's very much more crafty than Trump has any idea about. Anyway, so let's go on, and we're looking at the next article. And this article is about, we'll go ahead and read this one, Trump and the Law. It's from USA Today Network Special Report that he has an unprecedented number of unresolved lawsuits in the works. So it says, on the first anniversary of the start of his presidential campaign, Donald Trump spent much of the day in a setting he knows well, a room full of high-priced lawyers battling out a civil lawsuit. Trump paused in his campaigning in June on the 16th to answer questions under oath in one of his lawsuits against two celebrity chefs. He had sued Joffrey Zakarian and Jose Andres after they had backed out of a restaurant deal in response to Trump's inflammatory statements against Mexican immigrants. And who can blame them? It said the 2-hour deposition was at least the third time that Trump had to leave the campaign trail to be deposed by attorneys in one of his organization's lawsuits. Just 2 weeks before the election day, at least 75 of the 4,000 plus lawsuits, yes, you heard right, 4,000 plus lawsuits involving Trump and his businesses remain open, according to an ongoing nationwide analysis of state and federal court records by USA Today. Trump is running well behind Hillary Clinton in most polls, about 5 points behind in the popular vote in Real Clear Politics' rolling average of national polls. But if Trump were to win, the number of unresolved cases is unprecedented for a presidential candidate, according to political scientists and historians. Trump faces significant open litigation tied to his businesses. Angry members of his Jupiter, Florida golf course say they were cheated out of refunds on their dues. And a former employee at the same club claims she was fired after reporting what? Sexual harassment. Oh no, he doesn't do it. It's all just there to make him look bad during the campaign. Okay? He's being sued. She was fired after she complained about sexual harassment. Okay, this is ongoing. This is not something that happened 10, 20 years ago. It's ongoing with this man. Okay, there's a fraud case brought by Trump University students who say the Moguls company ripped them off for tens of thousands in tuition for a sham real estate course. This is coming up right around election time, the one for the Trump University. Trump is also defending lawsuits tied to his campaign. Okay? So it's not just business, now it's going into his campaigning, also is bringing up lawsuits. A disgruntled GOP political consultant sued for $4 million, saying that Trump defamed her. Another suit, a class action, says the campaign violated consumer protection laws by sending unsolicited text messages. If elected, the open lawsuits will tag right along with Trump. He would not be entitled to immunity and could be required to give depositions or even testify in open court. That could chew up time and expose a litany of uncomfortable private and business dealings to the public. This is just the tip of the iceberg with Trump. There are so many lawsuits, and this is the thing that I have problems with. You know, all of the ones, the followers of Trump that are just chasing after his heels, have not looked into this man's character or actually what his business practices and dealings have been. If they have looked into it at all, they would see that this man is corrupt. He has no moral fiber. He is so happy with everyone. He makes contracts that he doesn't honor. And he says, if you don't like it, sue me, and I'll just keep you tied up in court forever. That's his philosophy. That and using other people's money. Let me use other people's money, then I'll sue, I'll file bankruptcy, I'll do whatever I need to do so I don't have to pay. I'll hire guest workers, again, for lower wages than we pay in the U.S., and then I won't pay them. All I have to do is shoo them out of the country. Go, 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 go. We're done with you now. That's it. This man is really, really a snake. So let's continue on with the article and see where it goes. Even in the waning days of the campaign, in a speech Saturday in Gettysburg outlining his first actions if he wins the White House, Trump threatened to sue all of the women who have accused him of unwanted sexual advances, saying they're all lying. Okay, so the open cases raise questions about potential conflicts of interest that could become difficult for Trump to navigate. For instance, could his judicial appointments be influenced by his own court cases? This summer, he attacked a federal judge who was presiding over the lawsuit against Trump University, saying that the district judge, Gonzalo Curiel, is biased against Trump because the judge is Mexican descent. And Trump proposes a Great Wall along the Mexican border. Well, this judge was born in the U.S. Yes, he is Mexican descent, but he is a U.S. citizen. He has been born here. He was raised in this country. But according to Trump, he's not able to litigate fairly because he's Mexican. Okay, this is the thought of Trump. Okay. Another potential issue is that would lawyers and parties in cases and even judges seek to curry favor with a powerful individual in a way that might alter the outcome? Norm Eisen, who founded the nonpartisan watchdog organization Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in 2003, and later was the top White House ethics lawyer for President Obama in 2010, ticked off a series of potential conflicts. The lawsuits against Trump University could raise questions about who Trump would appoint as education secretary, Eisen said. Somebody with favor for profit colleges? Trump's development of the old post office building in Washington is being overseen by the federal government, which leases the historic building to Trump. And lawsuits involving the development could involve government officials. So that one was just opened today. He left the campaign in a public way to get free publicity for the opening of his new hotel. Okay? Again, this should be kept separate. His private dealings with businesses should be kept separate from his campaigning to be president of the United States. But this man does not understand that idea of separation. Okay? And when he gets in office, he should not be having anything to do with any of these activities. But if he's doing it in the middle of campaigning, I guarantee he has absolutely no intention of not getting involved in it if he became president. Big if. Okay. So he said, would he really put somebody in charge that would testify against his business? Eisen wonders. Well, of course not. This man is out for Trump. That's it. And the mother of all conflict could be the IRS audit. He said, what if they suggest civil penalties or even criminal proceedings? Alan Garten, general counsel for Trump and his business interests, downplayed the significance of the cases. Garten said only about 30 significant cases are open. Only about 30. It's nothing. Well, I don't know about you, but I haven't had any cases in court where I've ever had to sue. It's only got 30. Only 30 out of 4,000. This man is sue happy. The others are run-of-the-mill cases involving one Trump holding or another, frivolous cases and causes or suits destined to be dismissed. The reality is we're an operating company. We treat all the cases in the same way if he's elected or not. And the results shouldn't be different in the eyes of the law. Clinton has her own share of litigation heading towards Election Day. Media groups are suing her, trying to get more emails from her private server, and they've also argued for the release of deposition videos. Gee, let me guess who that is. Could it be Fox? Inquiring minds want to know. The email lawsuit is among 30 open civil cases Clinton faces. Dozens will likely be tossed out because of immunity doctrines as she acted in her official role as Secretary of State. All frivolous, again, lawsuits and nonsense. In nearly all cases, Clinton is named solely in her government capacity, often among a laundry list of other public officials. In a small fraction, like with the email server, some argue she should be held accountable as a private individual. Clinton's campaign staff did not respond to questions about the open case. Okay. So anyway, ongoing lawsuits are coming. We've got a part 2 to this, so I think we're going to just continue on with this on Trump's litigations. And I wish that and hope that at least a few of those that are thinking about voting for Trump, hopefully they see this video and they get a clue and they check more into it before we get this charlatan in the office. Okay. USA Today network reporters, more than 6 months gathering of court records in more than 4,000 lawsuits involving Trump and his companies. They traveled to courthouses, studied thousands of pages of records, and contacted lawyers, litigants, and witnesses across the country. For comparison, the newspaper also pieced together the record of Clinton's court cases. The exclusive analysis found an unprecedented mountain of legal battles for a presidential candidate, ranging from skirmishes with pageant contestants to multi-million-dollar real estate lawsuits. The cases offer clues as to the leadership style of the billionaire, that what he would bring to the White House. The review shows that Trump responds to even small disputes with overwhelming legal force, not hesitating to use his tremendous wealth and legal firepower against adversaries with limited resources. This is what he does. He tries to bury them in legal litigation so he doesn't have to pay them. He doesn't have to settle up. Okay? He's going to ruin them. So much for the small companies trying to work with Trump and do their job and get paid. Let's continue to look at this and see where it says, where it goes. He has repeatedly refused to pay people and small businesses for their work, forcing them to spend time in legal fees if they want to recover their losses. At least 60 lawsuits plus hundreds of additional liens, judgments, and other government filings reviewed by reporters documented cases where people accused Trump and his business of failing to pay them what they were owed for their work. Among them, painters. This one I know is going on in Doral. $34,000 he owes the painters for the work they did in Doral. There was a lien on that property. There was a lien on that property, and he was over there speaking during his campaign. Of course, did he tell anybody there's a lien there? Did he tell anybody he owes $34,000 in unpaid wages that he refused to give? Of course not. Just look at this fabulous place I've built. Yeah. There are real estate agents, bartenders, hourly workers at Trump resorts coast to coast. Even his own lawyers are being stiffed. Okay? The review shows Trump and his companies have been accused for years of mistreating women. In at least 20 separate lawsuits, plaintiffs accused Trump and his managers at his companies of discriminating against women, ignoring sexual harassment complaints, and even participating in the harassment themselves. Oh, what a surprise, huh? Women in those disputes have testified they were fired for complaining. Hence, why, when these women are coming forward now, we have lawyers that are ready to go to battle for these women pro bono, because they see the light of day when it comes to Trump and his arrogance and the way that he manhandles and abuses people. Okay, let's continue on. Trump's companies have been engaged in battles over taxes almost every year from the 1980s until as recently as last spring, when New York had to take legal action to collect $8,578 in unpaid taxes on the Trump-owned company that owns the trademark Boeing 757 that jetted the mogul to campaign rallies across the country. Okay, here we go. The review found that people who say something Trump doesn't like will frequently get threatened with a lawsuit. I'll sue you was Trump's mantra long before build a wall. I'll sue you, and I'm sure the other one is other people's money. I love other people's money. He also said he loves lawsuits. He loves it. He loves it. Okay? Loves it. Yeah. He loves the bankruptcy laws. Okay? He loves it. Okay. The analysis of lawsuits, however, showed that he rarely follows through with his threatened lawsuits over people's words and almost always loses when he does. Loser boy. Okay. The lone win was the lawsuit against Miss Pennsylvania over her claim on Facebook that Trump's Miss USA pageant was rigged. Well, there is much more to this, but it would take quite a long time to read. But I will go ahead and post the URL to this if anybody wants to follow up and read the last parts, or if you'd like me to go ahead and continue to read and make a video of the following parts, let me know. I could do that as well, but I think we should break it up into sections anyway. So thank you for visiting. The next part is distracted and potentially sidetracked. Thank you for visiting. Have a great day.